Welcome to the CodePlay Culture Podcast, where we discuss tech, gaming, health, and the world around us.
Back for another exciting episode, week over week. Rui and Logan back here, CodePlay Culture Podcast. I'm sure episode number 3, that'll get a little bit more. It's close enough, like a stone's throw is the analogy. But yeah, so today's episode, pretty exciting. This topic was Rui's idea. And for those that don't know, him and I go a little bit back and forth on the topics week over week and, kind of decide and kind of do our prep before then. So today's interesting topic in CodePlay Culture is really the play part of it, where we go over the different influential directors, Shigeru Miyamoto, Kojima, Sid Meier, like all of these different people that shaped the industry. And without them, we might all still be playing Candy Crush on our phones and not know about video games as anything other than a casino kind of thing. But yeah, so
that's going to offend some people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. I remember, I was at, a long time ago at one of my first jobs, and, it's like I was there for like 6 years, and they all knew that I was like a gamer and all that stuff. And I remember this one, girl came up to me and she said, "Oh my God, Logan, I'm finally a gamer." And I was like, "Really? That's awesome. Like, what are you into?" She's like, "Candy Crush." And I was like, "Oh, okay." That's yeah, that, I feel like, video games took like that little dip, everything ebbs and flows. Like,
yeah.
Once, the phone games came in and they went to that freemium, or that you keep on putting in tokens of like, oh, if you want to add some features to your character or your your mech or your robot or whatever, you just got to keep on pumping in that, $5 to get these coins. And then,
and it's quite genius, right? Because you mentioned $5, but some of them are like 59 cents. And you think to yourself, what's 59 cents, right? Can't buy anything for 59 cents. It's quick. It's small amount, but $200 later, you're up shit's creek.
Yeah. And at the same company, there was a lady who, often, parents, they'd let their kids play whatever game. And, some people that are not that tech savvy probably wouldn't have things locked down like payments, which is like that whole epidemic. So this friend's kiddo, and probably like, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10, ran up a $1,200 Apple bill. And it was like an interesting conversation right then. I was like, okay, so what did you do? She went back and forth with Apple until, they were able to, I guess she was quick enough, and, they realized, okay, it was just, and they returned the money. So
the kid got to keep his beefed up character?
That's a good question. I never asked that. Does it like dock it from the game? But I would assume that it probably wouldn't. Who would eat the cost and the liability? Right. It'd probably be Apple. They're probably making money hand over fist, so they can take on that liability and that risk to reimburse people once in a while. It's like the whole thing with Amazon. One of the reasons why people love ordering from Amazon, and this is a tangent on a side note down a rabbit hole of a segue, but you would probably, or we would all probably love to shop at a place where we wouldn't have to worry about returns, right?
Right.
If we could be assured that we do have, 30 days or maybe even longer, and, we don't have to worry about them saying no. And then there's some, teenager that's like trying to get assistant manager at the retail store or whatever it is. And she's like, "No, you can't return this because that's how I'm feeling today," or whatever it is. Right. And you're like, "Oh man, I got to go home and tell my wife, and she's going to, tell me how much I suck." Right. And, and with Amazon, it's like, you can literally not only return open games, or open CDs, you can slice a CD, play it or a game and play it and return it. But you can return things like, and I've never done this, but I just, I know what you can do, from people I've talked to. You can try on underwear, you can return them. And I mean, so basically they're like,
I wonder if
it's
they
good.
Burn them.
Yeah. Well, I found out what they do.
They're not going to resell them, are they?
No. Some things like, I know in the US, they had I don't know if it's direct through Amazon, but it looks like it's an Amazon mini company that will, it's like secondhand by Amazon. It's like in the US that you can buy the returns, but in Canada, they just drop ship them to like Habitat for Humanity and all these other charities, and they just take the tax right off.
Right.
So yeah, you don't have to worry about, Rui trying on underwear and then you get them and you're like, why are these so, stretched out?
Why are they so loose? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Why are they so loose? They're supposed to be and it's like, well, they're a return. And it's always like shifty. You like open it, you're like, oh fuck, this thing's been returned, right? Like,
yeah,
it kind of looks like it's been mangled a bit, like almost
that's
like
terrible.
a bunch of squirrels.
Costco's good for that too, right?
Costco does that too.
Croissants, like there's mold on it, you take it back, it's a croissant.
I had a Costco hot dog today.
Yeah.
And then
huge, right?
Yeah, they're like obnoxiously huge in a good way, like almost like buy me a drink first level of like enjoyability. My wife brought me a Costco hot dog today, and unfortunately it was cold. But you know what? That's first world problems. Beggars can't be choosers, and
right.
I thank my wife every day for bringing me Costco hot dogs.
Nice. He knows how much you love your hot dogs, man.
Yeah, but then when I squirted, I got to put a long blank pause in there. When I squirted the mustard and ketchup, I got both the mustard and ketchup water. And
worst part,
she's like, "Oh, you didn't shake it," and I was like, "You don't think I shook? I shook the hell out of that thing." It's like I got Water City there, and so far so good. I got my protein, got my carbs. We're ready to rock it. Game directors, like without like going through our list of prepared people, like just hypothetically straight off the dome, who do you think is your personally most influential game director or kind of like creative mind behind a set of games, a single game, and for what reason?
Well, I do have a single director that I think is by far the best in my opinion, because I just love his games. I spent hundreds of hours on these games. They're just amazing. And his name is, what is his name? Yu Suzuki. So he's the guy who made Shenmue. And I don't know.
Yes.
At the time when it came out on Dreamcast, was a revolutionary game. And it was just the best of the best. You can literally, it was one of those games where it may have been the first of its kind, where you can go in every single house and interact every single person, although they don't do much. But this is before Skyrim and or Morrowind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go into every house, talk to each NPC or each person, and the whole setting was just made you feel like you were in Tokyo, and it was just the greatest. I love it. Still one of my favorites. I of course bought part 2, and I played these all on Dreamcast, and I just played the crap out of them. I just finished them, and I'll play them again. I bought part 3, which was somewhat of a disappointment. But then again, it's just maybe because it lost its magic.
Yeah.
Right? Because that first time, it's like, the first, right? You never forget your first.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think? What's your absolute favorite, or one that kind of...
Probably like Sakaguchi, Hironobu Sakaguchi. He's the, for those that don't know, the creator of, I would say creator of every one of the Final Fantasy games before they started sucking. Like in my opinion, I kind of not got out of them, but they just completely went almost Hollywood after he left. And he left and he made 2 or 3 or 4 games. One of them was mobile. One of them is coming soon. And the other 2 was, one of them was, they were both for Xbox 360. One was Blue Dragon with the art style of that kind of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Quest, whoever that creator is. Yeah. And the other one is, it is, I forget the name of it. But if I'll look it up real quick. It's, Hironobu Sakaguchi 360 game. Of course, like my favorite game of all time, I'm drawing a blank on it, and it's not even charades. That was my pun. Where is it? So Mistwalker is what he started once he left there, and it was Lost Odyssey, and that was incredible. Like I remember getting like like not overly dramatic, but like actually baseline level normalness of just getting so hyped and excited when I started playing that. It
Nice.
was
That was
at a
360, right?
yeah, it was 360. So like when he left, Sony or PlayStation had that contract with Square Enix, and it seems to happen a lot where like these people are being like absorbed for their soul, like
Yeah.
Kojima, and then they're like, enough is enough. I'm going to go start and do my own thing. I don't think that Sakaguchi's story is going as well as, let's say, Kojima's is right now.
Right.
Like, but I hope that I see a little, more of that stuff come back. But I went on this buying video game binge, right?
Mm.
And this is probably like 3 years before Lost Odyssey came out. And I had like 30 games or something. And I said to myself, you know what? Enough is enough. I need to just sit down, after school or work and just play the heck out of them, get them out of my queue, absorb the cost, enjoy the fun. And I probably got to like 21 completed. So I had like 9 left, right?
Yeah.
And then I hadn't bought a game since. So we're talking about like many years went by without buying games because I was like pretty meticulous about not breaking this newfound habit from overspending. And then we rented from Blockbuster The Lost Odyssey. And I remember, because I hadn't been playing new games, right? Like for 2 years, it was like being starved or deprived of like your favorite media.
Yeah.
And I remember this one, it's a cutscene at the beginning of Lost Odyssey. And the guy does some kind of stab into a big robot's like eye and then does a backflip. And it had this like orchestral classical music, backflips, lands almost like a look on his face. Like he's not even excited. He's kind of bored. He wants to go home. Typical anime, like where they look back at the camera, they're like, and it was like it didn't affect them, and then just things explode behind you.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was a cutscene, and then the menus came up, and it says, attack, magic, next. Like you couldn't tell the cutscene transitioned into the gameplay. Right. It just made the hair on the back of my neck stand. I was like, it hit me so hard. We're talking about 2 years of not playing any new games, and that being my dominant kind of media format. Yeah. And then this thing just shook me to my core. My favorite director of all time of all of this stuff. Some of those 30 games were many Final Fantasies, like obscure ones that I hadn't played. And just incredible. Have you ever played Lost Odyssey?
I have not. No, I've seen it, but I've never played the game, man.
So good.
Is it worth a replay or?
Oh, for sure. Especially because on 360, they did up-res it to the 4K. And like, so they picked like a handful of ones to do, like Skate 3 and all of that.
Yeah.
And those that got the love treatment of the 4K 60 FPS upgrade.
Yeah.
Literally like a patch that like the back compat team was able to do, I believe, or in tandem or collaboration with the original game developers.
Yeah.
And it's a joy to play. I could be wrong about the 4K upgrade on that one, but I do remember recently replaying it on Xbox Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just incredible.
Nice.
So like the two main characters are, husband and wife, and they're immortals, right? Mm-hmm. So they have literally raised kids, watched them die. Their grandkids have like got old and died.
Yeah.
At a certain point, like immortals, like as a topic, is like you'd get probably like, okay, that's enough. I'm tired of seeing everyone I love die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you stay the same age. Yeah, Grandpa is 20, and he looks fabulous. He must be shredded.
That sounds weird. Yeah. Have you played Shenmue? They did a release on PS4.
No, and I would love to. And that was like a HD, obviously like 4K.
Was yeah.
Nice.
So that I believe that bundle contained all three games in one. If I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, man, you should. It's definitely it's a masterpiece, man.
Yeah. So that one, I know that Shenmue, like that's like one of those ones that people talk about It was the first one on Dreamcast.
It was called Shenmue Part 1.
So, and a lot of people have like this when they talk about Dreamcast, like I never had one, but a lot of people were like, I get the feeling of like when I watched things like Electronic Playground with Victor Lucas and Tommy Tallarico and like all of the different, people that talk on YouTube and magazines and all this stuff, they really loved Dreamcast and everyone was sad. Amazing. They were sad that for some reason it dissolved or whatever the reason is. Like it was like one of those consoles that if it continued, it could have dominated, right?
Of course, man. It was so good. It was so ahead of its time, right? It had broadband connectivity and online play. I don't think anything had that aside from a PC. Right. Ahead of its time, man. They had crazy like control. Oh, the controllers had little memory cards.
Yeah.
MCUs
screen,
or something. Right? Yeah, they had screens. Yeah, you could take it to go.
Yeah.
Play with those little Tamagotchi things and
oh my gosh.
It's like little Tiger handhelds, right?
Yeah.
It was cool. Like, you pop it back in and then transfer the character. It was pretty nice.
So cool. So yeah, like that was one I wish I played. Maybe it's a good opportunity. You said PS4, so probably hit that on hit that. Can I hit that? Can I hit that on PS4? Yeah, man. You want to hit it on PS5? No, man. I put PS4 games in PS4 because I want that OG feeling, right, dude? Yeah. I'm not sure if you've seen that video I did on why I don't play PlayStation 4 games in 5 unless they've been patched for performance reasons.
Yeah,
is that they are doing like a emulation level of back compat, and there is some quality degradation loss. But if it's on 4, I'd play it on 4.
Yeah, it's on 4, man. You'll love it. Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, go ahead. I like that the one of the guys that didn't make the list is the Bethesda guy. But I just watched
this whole Bethesda guy.
Maybe we can just leave it at that. Like maybe we won't mention his name, and actually that'll create more dramativity or positive drama than it would have than not. But if there's a lot of retrospectives on him of unkept promises, undelivered, like basically Morrowind and
I see
all of that stuff where like it was all good, right? Yeah. And then it just went down, right? Like Fallout 67, all of this stuff. But essentially there's a bunch of retrospectives online and pretty brutal, grim end to all of that stuff. But Bethesda is no longer looked at as like due to him, primarily. And the engine, but they do have a new game coming out, which is I think Starfield, right? Which does look pretty good, but at the end of the day, we've heard this story before with Bethesda, and like I haven't played a game of theirs since Oblivion. But a lot of people like Skyrim.
Skyrim was really good.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah,
I mean, I finished it. It was pretty easy, but there were a ton of side quests I missed.
Yeah.
Fun game though.
So I didn't know about that director, that Yu Suzuki.
Yeah, Yu Suzuki, man.
Virtual
he made some other games. Yeah, Virtual Fighter. Right. What else?
All of that stuff. And that's like so he worked at Sega then, right? Like primarily then?
Yes.
Because Shenmue was on Dreamcast.
It was on Dreamcast and it was on Xbox.
Ah, yes.
Original Xbox.
Whatever they can do to take down Sony.
And I believe the company was AM2. It was a division of game publisher. That's part of Sega, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, but AM2 was the subsidiary, likely. Have you ever played the Yakuza series?
No, and that's another one by him?
No, it's by somebody else, and I have no idea who it's by, but
that's another one that I haven't played. You've played it?
I've played it, yeah.
So, like, have you played, obviously, GTA? Like, any flavor, 3?
I have, yeah.
So, how would you, like, pick one? Which one would you prefer to play, and why?
I prefer to play GTA. It's a lot more open world, and I don't think you can't get into cars in Yakuza. It's more story-based.
Right.
And the fights are kind of... I'm not mistaken, they're turn-based or kind of scripted, as opposed to just, shooting somebody or mowing
Yep.
them down with a ice cream truck, right?
Yep.
So you can't do all that fun stuff in Yakuza, unfortunately. But story wise, it's way better than GTA. I think.
Yeah. So yeah, for story, you want Yakuza. For like overall game, probably GTA.
Yeah, when I'm drunk, GTA is way better.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I do like games that have like
Because you can drive and get away with it.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, just and then someone calls
nobody's
you.
gonna stop you.
You're like, oh, I just ran over a couple people. I think I've had way too many drinks. They're like, I'm calling the cops. You're like, no, I ran them over in a video game, right?
Even the cops can't stop you in the game, man. You put in the cheat, get your 5 stars, and they're like blowing the whole city up. For some reason, you're.
It's funny what the cops.
It's fun, man.
In GTA, what the cops will do to like the civilians that will die for them trying to get you.
Kill themselves trying to get you. I've seen them like jump off bridges and drown themselves.
So another good one, Miyamoto or Miyamoto-san, as I guess that's how you refer to anyone is like Mr. Miyamoto-san, Shigeru Miyamoto, famously known for the father of Nintendo. All things Nintendo would probably not be existing today without the soul of this, probably the most pure kind soul that has ever gotten into the video game industry and made like a tremendous name for themselves. Like looking at the rest of the list, like I would say, who would you want to, who would you say is probably the most kind, humble, pure spirited, happy go lucky, and I would definitely say him.
I would too. I'd have to agree with you.
He rides his, I think he, like last time I checked, heard an update, but he doesn't drive to work like past like 20, 30 years, whatever. He just rides his bike to work.
Nice.
And he just probably has that Miyamoto smile the whole way.
He's going to live like 150.
Yeah, that's what they say. Like, you want to die early, just sit at your desk and work.
Exactly what we do all the time.
Yep. That's why I got a treadmill underneath my desk. And I would be walking right now, but that would be obnoxious for the microphone.
Yeah. So no, he's definitely a, he took that company to the next level, right? He made Nintendo what it is today. Yeah, it's just great, man. Great ideas and such a good, humble person.
And have you seen that Mario theme park that he keeps on showing off?
Yeah.
I'm not
maybe
sure.
Not so humble. Never mind.
Yeah.
I don't know him personally. I'm just
fair enough.
Just regurgitating. What people say. Such a humble. Yeah. I have no idea. For all I know, he's sacrifices Yoshis in his spare time. Well, what do I know?
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine? He's just like, everyone thinks everything's good. And then Yoshi's just like, no, please. And he got him hooked down to a table like James Bond villain, Tell me where the egg is, Mr. Shoshi.
Where are you hiding that egg?
And then Yoshi's just like, let him, because he licks. I just returned, or I traded into GameStop, Yoshi's Crafted World.
Mm-hmm.
That was one I bought and got all the plush, amiibos.
Yeah.
Right?
What is that for Switch?
Yeah, it was originally, it's for Switch. And I forget the amiibos still work on Switch. They were like a Wii U thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Switch. And then I sold it. I was like, I'm not playing this game. And then I did one of those, pretty much a waste of money, where you're like, okay, it's been like 6 months. I'm going to rebuy it. I'm going to really, buckle. I'm going to tighten that buckle, and I'm going to just get her done.
Yeah.
And nope, it sat on the shelf for another 6 months. So I returned it and put it towards something my son wanted to buy, which was Animal Crossing for Switch, because he likes to play that together with his sister. So I figure if they're playing together instead of beating each other up, that's probably a step in the right direction in terms of parenting. But yeah, that was pretty cool. They're made of yarn, but I don't know, just gameplay was. But yeah, and then the Mario movie, right?
Oh yeah, coming out in April.
Black,
yeah,
Chris Pratt.
It's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I mean, I'm taking my young son for the first time to a theater, so
wow,
he's gonna love it. He's crazy about Mario.
Nice. Have you ever seen the voice actor that the guy that does the voice for Mario?
No.
It's kind of like an old guy. You know, you'd probably expect him to sound like Mario.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like him, but man, it's kind of cool.
Does he have an accent? I don't recall.
I think a slight one. He almost looks like he's, I don't know, of European descent.
Right.
But yeah, and so many different Mario games that come out over the years. Like my personal favorite, just because of the Sakaguchi love affair, was Super Mario RPG. I'm not sure if you've ever played that on SNES.
I have.
There's like one character in there that was like a cloud, and it's just like, it's just so good. And it spawned these other similar games to RPG, which is like Paper Mario. I loved Paper Mario.
I love that one too.
Oh, just the fact that you can turn yourself into an airplane and throw yourself just seems
very fun game. What about Luigi's Mansion? Do you remember that?
Yes. And not the, you're talking about the Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah, it was a Ghostbusters one. Yeah.
Yep. They recently released a Switch one too.
Yeah.
That was
I haven't tried it, but I did love the original. Really, really good. But yeah, man, going back to the older Marios, Paper Mario was really fun. What about Tactics? Wait, was there a Mario Tactics? Was that Ogre Tactics?
There was a Mario Tactics, but there was also Mario versus Rabbids, which is that whole. I wanted to say EA, but it's not that. Who's the Montreal studio that does? You know, they did Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft, right? It's a collab between Ubisoft and Nintendo, and it's all tactics based stuff, and it looks like a lot of fun. They got like I think 2 or 3 Mario versus Rabbids, and if you want that RPG level thing, but on a grid like chess. But I did play like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Like I even had this little tiny Nintendo thing that was like super small, like the size of like half of a Mars bar. And I would just put it right up to my eyeball because it would only be able to, only one of the balls would be able to see it. I'm like, okay. And then it would just burn my retinas, but I had a blast in my bed, ignoring my homework. And then,
there was no paper. There was no Tactics Mario. It was Tactics Ogre Tactics.
Tactics.
Yeah. I'm mixing up my games.
Yeah.
That's what happens, man.
Yeah. You get old and you're like, I remember a game. It was a Mario Tactics, and then your kids are like,
"It's Final Mario Fantasy." You're
like, "You suck, Dad. You like just wiki it, you know, like I believe wiki's wrong. Let me submit a complaint. Oh, they're running out of money. Oh, let me just pay the man." So John Carmack, also very influential co-founder, or like he's well known as like the person that is id Software or ID Software. Right. I think people refer to it as id. But if you think about it, like as a computer, like a software engineer, dude put ID as his company name, and then got the world to call it id.
That's pretty genius, man.
Right? Can you imagine naming your corp GUID and people calling it GUID?
Right.
Like, no, people just call it GUID.
You, man. If you have a great product, doesn't matter what the name is, man.
Yeah.
You can name it Kakapupu, and it's a great company, and it'll be CACA, PO, or whatever, however you spell it. Something like that. It's software.
So I guess his company was not doomed, but it did make a huge quake through the industry. And those are the 2 games. Those are the bad dad jokes for your people listening and putting up with that.
It's an intended pun right there.
Yeah, it's big pun. Like, you like my rapper joke? It's not about like candy bar packaging. Look at that. That was just brutal. Like take you out back like Old Yeller. It's like that was pretty sad, actually, by the way. Like, I think that's the only part of the movie I saw. But Doom, I remember, was he in charge of, did he do Unreal? Because like was Quake, like at what point did like Cliffy B and John Carmack like split and become their own people, like physically?
I have no idea, man. I thought Quake and Unreal had the separate, distinct engines.
Mm,
Do
yeah,
they?
I
Or
could be
maybe it's
right.
the same.
There could be some crossover there because they were around the time, and then obviously Unreal became Unreal,
Yeah.
right? Because
Unreal was
then,
amazing, man.
yeah, I just remember like double kill,
Yeah. Dude, everything
like
was
all
so
this
good
stuff.
back then.
Yeah,
It was
there's
like
like
it was the
moon
first
jumping.
time, right? Things are happening. Like it's the first time you see that kind of stuff. So it was pretty amazing. Now
Yeah,
it's like everybody has the same template
yeah,
and nothing's unique anymore. So that's probably
yeah,
why everything's less fun.
yeah. It's almost like you got to make a game that's called black dot white square. Okay. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, because like everything's already been done. And then you go into the game, it's just got a white square. And then in the middle, there's a black dot. And then you tap it and the credits come up. Good
Yeah,
job. That's it. They're like,
that's it,
why
man.
did I download this? Like 1-star review. And then we're like, well, I was trying to do something that doesn't exist.
There you go. But you know what? What they need, I can tell you, man. Good formulas remove budgetary constraints,
Mm,
give more creative freedom, and let people do what they want.
mm.
Remove sprints, remove timelines, and remove milestones, and you'll have
Ah,
something great.
incredible. Just basically allow the people to frolic in a like a primordial soup of creativity.
Yes. Yes.
How would that work financially? Like you'd have to have some
Who
kind of burn
cares?
rate. Yeah, fair enough.
Nobody
Yeah,
cares.
it's
Like
like,
the ID
yeah,
guys at ID didn't care. They just like worked through the night and did what they
yeah,
or id. I should say id. Guys
yeah,
at id didn't care. Work through the night, do it. Make it, push it out,
yeah.
and yeah, man, don't worry. Everything will be okay.
You know, the best thing about coding, I would say, or creating, I shouldn't say coding, I would just say creating, because it could be
Mhm.
like art, it could be creating your mom a birthday card, it could be
Yeah.
anything that you're making as a creator.
Hmm.
Um, if you've made it, and you love to do it, and you're proud of it after, and you worked so hard at it, and you just love doing it,
Hmm.
and then 8 hours pass, and you're like, oh, I needed to get paid, or I can't, or they're going to take my house, or I can't get groceries.
Yeah.
Like there is so much unlocked human potential that is just being like, um, or inhibited by capitalism, right?
Right. It's
So
being restrained, right?
yeah, I have a feeling that if we knew what we knew, like maybe 500 years looking back, we would realize, man, humanity was holding itself back from like universally evolving.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's possible. Look, games like Doom or like the first Sims or a first Shenmue, right? You have these kind of creative endeavors that blossomed, but then you have, your typical capitalist ventures, which is 20 parts of Assassin's Creed, which all suck except the first one.
God, yeah. Assassin's Creed is good. Now let's just make it a bunch of weird spin-offs and we'll take our money and just destroy it. Thanks,
That's it.
guys.
I
Oh,
mean, even the sequel was pretty bad. I
yeah.
couldn't play it.
Oh,
But yeah, Assassin's Creed 2
yeah.
was it wasn't
The
for me,
first
man.
one.
One
The
was
first
one was
one.
good,
Yeah.
right?
Had a cool premise.
It did.
Like Kojima, right? With the whole what is it called? Where is that name? No, what was the name of the studio that he left?
Capcom? Was
Cap
it?
was no. Damn, I can't believe I'm drawing a
Wait a
blank.
minute. Konami,
Konami.
right?
So
Let's
yeah,
check it out.
and then you know, all of the Metal Gear stuff and all the stuff he did before, incredible. And then, I think he left throughout when 5 was halfway done or whatever, and he just did the Death Stranding stuff, and he's working on
Mm,
other stuff. But that was another example of corporate getting in the way of creativity, right?
right.
It's interesting to think is when that happens, when what happened with Sakaguchi, what happened
Mhm.
with Kojima, is basically like you're watching this Pokemon evolve far past the capabilities of whoever was in charge of Square Enix or whoever was in charge of Konami, right?
Yeah.
They've basically just said, you know what I have to offer the world is much better than what you have. And I love seeing that story where, because probably Sakaguchi, not probably, for sure, Sakaguchi and Kojima made their parent companies filthy rich, and they probably didn't get very much of that. They probably got some, right? No doubt they were rolling in it, but not as much as that big fat cat at the top just smoking that cigar and going, you know what I mean? Like just taking it all. And I love the story of them evolving to be much more than Konami or Square Enix could have ever been, you know, when they yielded or when they were used by the company.
Yeah. I mean, I can certainly understand the company's point of view, right? They're putting up a lot of the risk.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose, right? It's a financial risk to the company.
Yeah.
And they don't want it to flop because obviously they can't pay the shareholders, right? So
yeah,
I can understand that part. But what are you going to do, right? That's their problem. It's not really my problem.
Yeah.
So I do want a creative game. I do want something new and exciting.
Yes.
Right, which has not come out in many, many years.
Yeah, it's been
We're overdue.
Between. We are definitely overdue. Did you play Death Stranding though?
No.
You know what? I'm gonna get the PS5. Like we have like I think next Friday, and we're gonna watch a little bit of that. A couple of those like movies that we talked about.
Yeah,
I'm saying it obscurely, and I need your help here to remember the director of
Miyazaki.
Yeah, Miyazaki, right?
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, like those are the movies we're watching, okay? Like
right, the Ghibli studio movies.
Yes, exactly. And then I'll exactly like the drawing of the drawing the blank thing is bearing the lead and causing some ideas here. I'm gonna get the PS5 version of the director's cut of Death Stranding. I've already beat it on 4, but there is so much of like almost like elements of Metal Gear, like a little bit of 1, more 2, and more 3 of like just that craziness. And then also you have what you would think would be super boring delivering packages, right? Just you have literally a baby in a jar strapped to your belly, and that's the only way you can see the evil monsters. This is straight out of his head, right? And I'm pretty sure that when he dreams, it's pleasant, and when he wakes up, it's nightmares. Like it's just crazy how his role, like how he can create these things. But yeah, no, I'll get that. So we'll play that. The other one we didn't have on our list is, I don't know the person's name, but you'd have to look it up. So maybe you can look it up while I'm kind of going through it. Is the creator of all things Resident Evil and Capcom. Just some of the most amazing game. And I'm not like a horror person. Like if I play, like I wouldn't play Silent Hill. I wouldn't play anything like worse than that. But incredible.
I love Silent Hill. I love that game so much, man.
The one that, and you see that they're doing a remaster of Silent Hill, and Silent Hill's a different, for the most part, creative director. Yeah. But Resident Evil,
his name's Shinji Mikami.
Yes, and he's like
Shinji Mikami. I pronounced that wrong.
The remake of, sorry, not remake. Thank you. Thank the Lord. It's not a remake for the most part. We will see, but Resident Evil 4 is probably airing on the 95% remaster, 5% remake, which is like we talked about before. The games we loved growing up with were perfect. Dear video game industry, please, if you're going to touch it again and open up that code base and make it better or whatever, please do not touch anything other than a new skin of paint on the graphics. We do not want our memories blemished by your lack of budget, timelines, or let's just try this gameplay dynamic. It's almost like you haven't seen a friend for 20 years and you finally meet up with them and they're addicted to meth. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, my memory of you was much more pleasant. I'm sorry I ran into you in this alley in Toronto. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, no,
yes,
but you know what? Again, dollars and cents, man, dollars and cents.
yeah.
Whatever's going to be, it's going to make fiscal sense is what they're going to go for, right? They don't care about our nostalgia. Um, what's your favorite Res Evil game?
So 4 for sure, and that's
Four,
what
okay.
got me into it, and that's why this month, I think near the end of the month, the 4 remaster is coming out, and
Mm-hmm.
that director that you just mentioned,
Yeah,
they were talking about how they added in some stuff into it that didn't exist before, and
nice.
some of the characters that they added was like just like out of nowhere, like a certain guy with a chainsaw is just
Mm-hmm.
completely like a new character that it's kind of the same levels and all that stuff, and people
Yeah,
thought that they were going to take out a lot of the games like characters and stuff. I believe that for the most part they're all there now. It looks fairly complete, like it's just going to be incredible. The
nice.
my favorite, I'm not sure if it is him. Let me just see. Okay, so from this is the creator Shinji Mikami,
Yeah,
and he was the he made this game, and he started a studio called Tango Gameworks,
yeah,
and this game was published by Bethesda, so had nothing to do with development. Thank the Lord. And so he was a director of Resident Evil, and this game is called The Evil Within,
mm-hmm.
and it is just so much like right back to that. Like if your last experience with your favorite Resident Evil game was 4 or 5 on GameCube, PS2, 360, or whatever it is, like the HD version,
Yeah,
if that was your last experience, there was The Evil Within and The Evil Within 2, and I would say that something happened in The Evil Within 2 that wasn't. It was good, right? But it
yeah,
was nothing like the first Evil Within. And we're talking about like the most craziest bosses. Like this guy's boss, there's a boss of a guy that's like a butcher, right?
yeah.
And he has a safe for a head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you open the safe, there's nothing inside the safe.
That's like my head.
And that's what your wife would say about your head, Rui. It's like you're like a safe, but when I open it, there's
There's
nothing in
nothing
there. So
inside.
why should I protect that? So and when you kill the boss, he
Mm-hmm.
comes back within I don't know, probably 30 seconds, and the screen like flickers like this whole like strobe effect,
Yeah,
and it's like you finally find out a certain point how to take care of that boss, for the good.
right.
But it is crazy. The bosses,
You know, when I played Resident Evil, not the originals, for the first time, it was number 5, and I'm used to playing Resident Evil where it was a puzzle game, and it was just, for me, that's Resident Evil, not over the shoulder Mass Effect type, but
yeah,
puzzle where the camera's kind of at the top and
yeah,
it's ominously looking down at you,
yeah,
and you feel like you're being watched, but you're just watching yourself. It's really a meta moment, but you're like walking around and doing puzzles, moving statues, having them having them sit on little, I guess, little floor panels that do
yeah.
stuff. And it was literally that for me is Resident Evil, because my favorite of all the series is one called Code Veronica, which was
That was
probably my
Dreamcast,
first
right?
brush with Resident Evil. Yeah, it was Dreamcast.
Oh,
I played the hell out of that system, and it had like 60 games,
yeah.
which is probably their whole library, to be honest. But
They had an up-res of Code
oh,
Veronica.
did they? Oh goodness,
Yeah.
that game is so good, man. That was my first brush with it. Then when I hit 4, was it 4? No, 4 was, I didn't actually play 4. When I played 5, it was on PS3. I was completely disappointed. I was disappointed. I didn't want to play it anymore. I
For
went
which
back
one?
in Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I couldn't.
That was a
To
little
me,
bit
that's not
weird.
Resident Evil.
Yeah.
It was just too insane for
So,
me. I like that slow paced
yeah.
puzzle and a little more
Yeah.
spooky, atmospheric
Did you skip
Resident Evil.
did you skip 4 and you went to 5?
I skipped 4.
Oh, for
And
sure.
I think I even skipped 3.
Yeah.
I played 1 and 2, and then Code Veronica.
Yeah.
Actually, 1 and then Code Veronica. I think 2 came out after. I'm not sure the timeline with those, but yeah, man, 5 just destroyed my faith in that series.
Yeah, like I might have a different opinion on that if I didn't have 4 first.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like 4 prepared me for 5, and 5 was like, okay, I've seen this before. I know what I'm getting into. But going right to 5, and then you're just like smack dab in Africa. You're just a white dude, and you're shooting people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly that game today would probably be canceled. Do you know what I mean? There's no way that would have been okay. Yes, those people were infected and they're zombies or whatever of that, some of them, right? But think about like how that game came out, and like if that came out today, it's like ridiculous, right?
Well, you know what? In all fairness, man, you got to kill those zombies, right? But that first thing, that as soon as it started, man, that over the shoulder and that tumbling and that jumping through windows, like what?
Yeah.
What did they do? What did they do to this franchise?
Yeah, they made
was severely disappointed. But I'm looking at 4 here. 4 looks like it started. That's where it started, man.
Dude, if you haven't played 4, when you come over, we'll do. I have the 4K remastered version of 4 for Xbox Series X, which I think originally came out on 360, so it probably runs better. Hopefully, emulation for the win. But you'll love it. It's like, I think you're in some kind of like Ukraine or Russian kind of like, no one's speaking English, and like, you think these all villagers are normal until their heads pop off and there's like these squids, and the squids like, try to attack you. And then like, it's very like religious too, almost, because like they're all like, and then a bell just rings and they all go to church. Like they were attacking you. They're like, hey, and then the trailer was where Leon Kennedy is like, hey, where's everybody going? It's like literally just getting like axes thrown at them, and like, sorry, it's Sunday at 10. We gotta go. We have our priorities right now. But
that's pretty cool. But what about Raccoon City? Ever tried that one?
No. Was that PS1? Raccoon City?
Honestly, I don't know. Let's see. That's another one that was on my list to play, but I feel like that's more of like a FPS, like a straight out FPS, man.
Oh yeah. Have you ever, like, if you liked one and 2 and Veronica, did you ever play Resident Evil? I think it's 0.
You know what? I came in a bundle on my PS4 when I bought like the old ones. So I bought like all the remasters of the old ones. It came with that bundle, but I have not played it yet. It's
really fun. My buddy and I, Jay, we because it's 2-player.
Yeah.
But it's 2-player. It's not 2-player in the conventional sense. You have to control 2 characters independently, meaning you can press like the select button or whatever the button is, and then you're playing as her. Then you can press the select button. And so you have to move these 2 characters, right? So what Jay and I decided to do, we would marathon it over like a 24 to 48 hour period. I think it was 24, because I think the game was like 8 to 12 hours. Yeah. And every time we'd press select, like I'd get the girl, of course, for various reasons. And then he would play the dude. And then we would just, every time we have to hand the controller off, we would just press select and hand it off. And we marathoned it like that. That would have been a pretty cool, innovative gameplay live streaming experience if those things existed back then.
Hey, didn't we play a game like that? We played that man, what was that game? That anthology game. What was it called? But it's pretty spooky too. It was
oh, you're talking about the Man and Medan.
Yes,
and all of those. Games, yeah. And I have a new one. Well, no, we beat that new one, but then there's another one out that, and those are like the choose your own adventure. Remember like out of nowhere, things would just pop, and we go back and we're like, oh, nothing's there. And then we look at each other like, no, there was something there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like they can't do that. Right.
Speaking of games that used to freak me out, I don't know if you ever played this game. It's called Fatal Frame.
Yeah. That was terrifying.
I had nightmares after, because I really played that for hours and hours, and I literally went to sleep and dreamt about that. It was crazy scary.
The worst is like you get out the camera and then like they're right in your face.
Yeah.
Like you don't have that thing where like they're over here, like very far away, and then boom, they're in your face.
And then they're screaming.
Yeah. Like, and then you gotta like then you're like, oh, I gotta take your picture. 1 second, please. And then the only way you kill them is by taking a photo of them.
That's right. That's right.
That's
Man.
like the Kardashians. That's exactly the same story. I bet you, like, it was ahead of its time. You just have to take a photo of them, and they instantly perish. um, Tim Schafer, another awesome one. I didn't play like Grim or Tentacle, but I did play. What was that? Oh, Psychonauts. That was crazy. Have you played that?
No, I have not.
Just so good. That was on Xbox, and there was another one, but it was just, that's kind of crazy. That reminds me of, like, I don't know, almost like just a series of there was like a PC game back in the day called I think it's called Brain Dead 13.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was kind of like, it's like a cartoon, almost like, you remember that left and right, like you have to time these like left and rights or you die. And it was a
Dragon's Lair, man.
Dragon's Lair. So it was the same people that made, I believe, Dragon's Lair, but it was called Brain Dead 13.
I remember this. I do remember this.
I rented it from Blockbuster. You could rent PC games, right?
Yeah.
And then you'd get them home and put them in, and your computer would say, you do not have the right drivers for this video card. And then you're like, okay, well then let me just return the game or whatever. And back in the day, man, like
good times, man, good times. At least on MS-DOS. Nice.
Fuck, yeah. I remember MS-DOS, like I wrote, like that was my first tout at or kick at the can at programming. I wrote like batch menu based batch files to like launch games with or without cheat codes. And I think I might still have the code, which obviously won't run, but that was the whole, like, remember the wares, like WA.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Z, and like games, you just have to add a Z.
Anything with a Z at the end.
You're stealing it, right? That's how you know, like, oh, are we getting groceries with a Z? We're robbing no frills. You know what I mean? Like, that was back in the day, and they would get burnt to CDRs, and the CDRs were like gold.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then some were red. And you're like, what's this red one? And like, you're like discovering these different colors of CDRs, and you're like, wow, what's this one for?
Hey, do you remember CD Copy World? You get like, you download the CD, or you get like the CD and you just rip it to your computer, and you go to CD Copy World and get the EXE, the fixed executable. And that came with trainers where you can do cheats for the game. It was,
oh my God,
a lot of cool stuff, man.
Do you remember Time Commando?
No,
that was like a PC game that was like a 3D character, I think, moving in this, like, almost like how Resident Evil 1 was these fixed pictures, and the 3D character is moving through these fixed pictures. But that one was, instead of the pictures, it was moving through videos.
Yeah.
So you can imagine Resident Evil, if instead of being the pictures, it would be like things are moving as you're walking as a video. It's kind of like pretty innovative from a development side. If you're resource constraint on like 3D graphics processing power, and you need to make something that looks pretty trendy and new, like you had to go through some really creative hoops to be able to make some Hollywood level or attempt any of that stuff.
Yeah. So going back to Tim Schafer, he made Grim Fandango. I don't know if you ever played that. I played a little bit, and it's not my kind of game. It has a good rating. A lot of people love it. I couldn't get into it. Just the cartoon style is not for me. Yeah. But that being said, I love point and click adventures.
Me too.
You too? Yeah. I've been playing one recently. It's called The Unavowed.
Is
really cool.
Is that the one from the Miyazaki ones?
No, I don't know who makes The Unavowed. It's some studio in like Sweden or Finland or somewhere Scandinavian country.
What's it called?
The Unavowed. And they have a series of point and click games.
Yeah.
But I'm playing that one specifically. It's really fun.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Just taking a look now.
What's your brush with the point and click? What's your top?
Yeah, so I grew up playing King's Quest. Was probably my first like experience. I think it was King's Quest 6. Hold on. And then the next one I got was a cartoony one, which I think was 7.
Yeah.
And, I remember like friends and I were even playing, like, well, they were playing it, but I was watching them. They were playing King's Quest 5. And the other ones I love playing were, Fate of Atlantis, Indiana. And these are all the LucasArts games. And there was a lot of incredible LucasArts games.
Of course, we have to mention The Secret of Monkey Island. You can't talk about point and click without mentioning that game.
And and the second one, the sequel, that like Secret of Monkey Island, like I played that so much. I just remember how their mouths would talk, and it would be like all over the place, where like, because they have to make the pixels seem like they're like, their mouths were like the mouth animation was disproportional to their head, right?
It was.
But it was just so charming.
It was perfect. Yes.
It made you want a cup of grog.
Oh yeah, man! I want to be a pirate. Everybody did after playing that game.
Yeah, and then we had to wait a couple of years till we got Pirates of the Caribbean to want to be pirates again.
Right.
You know, until this day, I still paint my toenails black. No, I'm just kidding. I've been thinking about that though. You know, like, I mean, why can't guys do that stuff? Let's do it. Yeah, like that. And what else was point and clicky?
So that game, there were point and click. That was like one that really stood out, but there were a lot of really good ones. King's Quest, of course, as you brought. Leisure Suit Larry was pretty dirty, but not for kids. Not for kids, because it was
And then the director or the game changing director of King's Quest and all that stuff was, I think, Sierra Williams, or I'm not sure her full name, but it was made by Sierra. Yeah. And but I think her name there's something to do with Williams.
I see.
But yeah, she was incredible for what she created. I think the one after 7 was 8, and it was all 3D. I didn't play it. I always wanted to, but they did come out with a King's Quest like fully revamped new one that you could download on Xbox, and I played that one. Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same. It was okay. They did a good job with it, but then after hour number 5, I drop it. Like, again, this is, I mean, it was a really good. I was really compelled on it, but it's so difficult. Like, think about, if they're budgets aside, even if you have the same people, like even the director, like you were at a different state, both like technically, maturity wise, at that point of your life. Maybe asking I shouldn't, put it in that way, but maybe asking people to recreate like what we love from our childhood in a different way is too difficult. Is a very difficult ask, but at the same time, they could just, that's why remasters are best bang for your buck. Literally, you have the game, you know what to do. Don't mess it up. Just like, and I'm not talking about a new skin of paint. I'm talking about like, like make actual sprites instead of like gobbledygook pixel characters, right?
The thing is the money, right? Like, it's going to target a niche, crowd, and they want to target a broader audience. Yeah. Like, how many people want to play King's Quest remastered? Sure. I don't know. I mean, I do. But.
Yeah, for sure. You know what they've done for that is, for that same question, is they get a GoFundMe going. Yeah. And once they reach, some of them, like, games have started based on GoFundMes, and they reach like $1 million, and they're like, okay, we got $1 million. We can, that's a good idea, develop this game. Yeah. So, if anyone wants a game developed, if get enough people together and go on GoFundMe and just put it up there, and if you got a really good idea, like, I'm telling you, it has happened, and they do make this stuff. Yeah. And it's incredible.
What do you think of Telltale games? Now, here's the thing, right? When you look at point and click adventures, Telltale games are lumped in with them. Yeah. But are they actually point and click?
They are kind of like a choose your own adventure book. Right?
Yeah, but are they point and click? I don't think so.
No.
I think you're not pointing and clicking. Well, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the semantics, but yeah, you're maybe pointing and clicking, but it's not the same as that genre, right? Yeah. But I think I despise Telltale games. I can't play them.
I think I do too, and it's pretty bold of you to say that, because I feel like a lot of people are feeling that same way, and they maybe lack the confidence that you do to just come right out and say, you know what, I know that they're beautiful, they're doing some good stuff.
They are beautiful.
I absolutely loathe them too. Like, I'm sure that there's a lot of technical stuff that goes into them and all that, but
of course,
I don't know. I just feel like it's shovelware at this point. It's probably not very easy to create. I mean, relatively easy to create compared to other AAA titles. They seem to come out with them very quickly. That could just be an efficiency thing, but it could also be, obviously, because it's easier to create options and branching animations than actual gameplay. there is some of that choose your own adventure stuff that was pretty good. I forget the name of it.
There is some that was really good. Some of them were really good. And off the top of my head, I can tell you, maybe not off the top of my head. I may have to think about it. I can't remember.
It was like a
really
PS2 choose your own adventure. It was like this psychedelic one. Choose your own adventure.
I'm trying to think. I did enjoy. Oh, yeah, no. What was that? What was that game on PS3 where you're an investigator? This was a Telltale game where you're like an investigator, and it starts off where you have like man, I can't remember.
Yeah,
an inhaler. You have an inhaler. You have to like shake your controller, and then the guy like takes a puff of it.
I think one of them was heavy
rain.
Heavy rain. Yeah,
right.
That one. This is what I'm trying to get to. Of like, yeah. So you're already kind of ahead, and even Detroit Becoming Human is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Before I couldn't play that for like more than an hour.
Fair enough. So Heavy Rain, number 2 on this list of like most influential point and click, but the one before it was really, really good too. But I feel like what happened, like without knowing if there's any way to trace it at all. Oh yeah, it was Indigo Prophecy.
Oh, okay.
So it was first PS2 Indigo Prophecy, then I played Heavy Rain. I think that's the order. And then basically Telltale's like, oh, I like this recipe. Let's just create a bunch of, The Wolf Among Us, all this stuff, and like to each their own. But I really feel like, and historically, people sometimes come out with an incredible idea, right?
Of course.
And then the shovelware comes, right? And this is the Assassin's Creed effect.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly it.
Yeah. Or as I call it, it's like the disease of sequelitis. Where like, oh, they caught the company caught it, and now they, if you get bad enough sequelitis, it converts to shovelware-itis. And then you just basically, it's all downhill. When we didn't talk about Sid Meier, he's another influential a dude, makes Civilization, all the tycoons and they make SimCity and stuff like that. Did he? No, that was Will Wright and The Sims.
Yeah.
And they were both very influential, especially in the PC game series. Yes. Like it did come over to console. I don't think we know like off the top of our head, unless you do the main people responsible for StarCraft and Warcraft and all that
Blizzard?
Stuff. Or
the guys.
The guy.
I don't know their names off the top of my head.
Okay,
but Mike Morhaime is
okay.
I think that's his name. I'm not sure, but he's a World of Warcraft developer, director, whatever. Yeah, man. I like Warcraft.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It was like I watched a retrospective of the fall and decline of, well, not the decline. It was like the rise of Leroy Jenkins.
Oh, nice.
And like where he's at, like he'll just, turn up for events. He says this, 2 words, they hand him a check and he's like, I'm out, I'm hitting the casino. He's got the babes around him. He's throwing craps, I
love that. Dude, honestly, I love that game. It lost its charm and magic, but
yeah,
still one of my top.
Right. Yeah. So, all right, Rui. So what are you looking forward to of these like top super crazy in a good way, the best way possible, game directors, game-changing directors, of these directors or directors not mentioned in our podcast today? What is the, 1 or 2 games you're most looking forward to coming out in the next couple of years?
I don't keep up to date with what's coming out, but I'm looking forward to more Miyamoto characters, more Super Mario Brother games, and Yoshi games, Donkey Kong games, because, I have a small child and he loves to play Super Mario. So that to me now is, takes precedence.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking forward to more fun Mario games and movies and all that good stuff. How about you?
On my side, like I said, the Resident Evil 4 remake this month. Another one I'm looking forward to is of not listed in here. I don't think we talked about, I think his name is Aranoma or anyhow, the guy that made Zelda, the new, it was called the Breath of the Wild 2 for Switch, but it became its own title, which is, I don't know, it's coming out in a couple months, I believe, the new Switch Zelda, which is
a lot of buzz about that game, right?
Yeah, it is called the Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm a little worried about it, given that it's set in the same engine, because right as up to this date, it has the risk and potential to flop of a sequelitis level thing, right? But looking back at all of the Zeldas, did any of the Zeldas, like, it could be the first of all time that like
I don't think it's going to happen.
Majora's Mask was a bit of a,
I don't know, some people loved it, man.
That's the thing, is, what, Majora's Mask was the only one, well, not only one, but the thing about that one was Zelda games historically up until that point took like 3, 4, 5, 6 years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They took a long time. So I think someone from corporate or whatever said, you have like 2 years, you got to get it out. And it was basically the shortest development cycle window. And that's what they were able to create. But you're right. There is a speed running cult culture. There is a whole culture around Majora's Mask. Yeah. And there's lore and like lies and fables and these like conspiracies on, this person was really this person. It's messed up. Like, you can get really geeky in a non-attractive way with the Majora's Mask. Like, don't make it your opening line at the bar.
Right. Well, we don't have to worry. We're not picking up any bar ladies in anytime soon. So
our viewers might be, but we are definitely on a leash tied to our computer desk. Exactly. Our wives let us leave with a code that we don't have access to if we're good boys.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, but no, behind every good man is an even better woman, or behind every good person is an even better spouse, best friend, partner, whatever it is. But Ruby and I are definitely part of that. Lucky to be alive, lucky to have her state of mind, in all honesty. But yeah, that's it from my side. Rui, anything you want to say before we head on out like a baby?
No, man, I think we've covered quite a bit of stuff in this episode. Yeah, I'm pretty much tapped out for things to say.
All right, so
my coffee finished.
Yeah, coffee is finished. Oh no, I have another sip, which I'll play during the outro music. Thank you, everyone, and see you next time on the CodePlay Culture Podcast.